Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the State of Scottish Football. We are live here on this Friday evening. It's remember the 5th of November, and well, 416 years on, there's still corruption going on in government. But hey ho, they vote, change the rules, and we get away with it nowadays, Dave. They don't try and blow the place up. How are you doing this Friday evening?
Yeah, very well, Colin. And I've got a rendition to make towards the Celtic fans this fine Friday evening because I was singing off there. This is the day. This is the day we win away. So I've gave away something there. I'm not a Aberdeen fan by name, but deep down I probably have a bit of Celtic affinity in me as well. But looking forward to this cracking Friday night of cinch football to cover.
Well, we are live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, on LinkedIn, and I'm currently trying to get us up and running on Twitter, but we seem to be having some technical difficulties here, so I will try as soon as possible to get us up and running on Twitter. But thank you very much for joining us. We do have a lot to cover this Friday evening. Jerry, always in here from Miami. Welcome to you, and Feed the Bear coming in. Welcome, and a hail to yourself. Look, it's the biggest story in Scottish football. We have to go there first. Let's go to the other side of Glasgow. Let's go to Ibrox and let's discuss Rangers' financial results. Now, Dave, it was announced today a loss of £23.5 million, a wage bill that's now up to 100% nearly of their turnover. And basically, if it wasn't for the European money last season, it could have been a lot worse. It does look as though they do have the sort of money men there that are willing to underwrite this, but I mean, it can only go on for so long. I think this season shows you how important winning the league will be.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Rangers have to win the league this season. There's no getting away from it. I mean, Celtic will have been more fiercer competition this season around, but yeah, it's massively frustrating if you're a Rangers supporter. They're not learning the lessons of what happened just under a decade ago. What happened under a decade ago was catastrophic for a couple of Glasgow Rangers, and I'm not saying the same old thing will repeat itself here, but this has got to be worrying news for Rangers. And yeah, they've invested in the football department, but there's also a question to be raised on: is the books getting balanced? I don't think so.
When you take a look at it, and we'll speak about last night's result as well, it does say in the reports today that Rangers will have to go on and probably sell a couple of their players in January. It's part of the long-term process that they've got there. Looking at that performance last night, was there anyone that stood out that you think, do you know what, they'll be the one that Rangers try and move on?
Well, the striker department's very it needs improving. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Morales has been good, Roof has been good, but it needs additions. So I can't see the striker department. The big one for me would be: do you stick with Al McGregor and John McLaughlin in the goals? Very good question, because they're both doing very well for Rangers. Do you move one on? And it means one goalkeeper gets less competition. That's $1 million question as far as I'm concerned. What to talk about Goldson at this precise minute in time. Patterson and Tavernier. There's a big debate about the right back area at this moment. Do you sell Patterson? But the final line regarding that is Patterson's an up and coming player. So yeah, there is repercussion moving forward for Rangers, but also where is the right players to go and sell? They're very strong in the midfield area right now. Will Gerrard look at this and go and say, midfield's probably one of our strongest areas, and probably has helped in terms of the success we achieved last season in terms of winning the league. So lots of questions and very little answers right now.
We are still struggling to go live on Twitter. We're not sure what that issue is, but we'll try and get up there. If you do normally watch, and you know people that do watch, tell them to come over to our YouTube channel. They can leave their comments on here and we'll bring them up, just like Sean Curran's comment here. Haven't they been trying to sell players for 3 or 4 seasons now? I think Rangers have been. I think it has always been the kind of long-term plan for Rangers to move some of the players on. The question is, Dave, I don't know if the bids that are coming in will do it. Now, Glenn comes in here, and this is an interesting point, right? Rangers win the league and get in the Champions League money and they'll be fine. Now, I do see where Glenn's coming from here, but it's not just as simple as that. Because
the playing Malmo in the Champions League, beating that, and Gerrard admitted that in that night in question in the second leg at Ibrox that changes had to be made. They haven't made those exact changes yet, but he did admit that the books will need to get balanced just that bit more in terms of player recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, Rangers obviously spent a lot to try and stop Celtic winning 10 in a row, and to be fair to them, that's exactly what they've done. And now it's sort of a case of, well, what happens next? I fully expected them to beat Malmo this season and get into the Champions League. I was so surprised when that didn't happen. And then you look at it and you look at the revenue that comes in from the Europa League, it's almost sort of half of what you expect to get from the Champions League. And it's been able to sustain Rangers for this period of time so far. But I think even Glenn will admit, as a Rangers fan, there's got to come a point where you start looking around the squad and you say, well, we've got to move a player or two on. Rangers' highest transfer fee out the door is still Alan Hutton at £9 million, and that's well over 10 years ago.
And that's a right back, just to put things into consideration here. But also, I touched on the right backs there. If Tavernier is going to be a regular right back for Rangers, what does that mean for Patterson? Does that mean Patterson gets moved into a different position to suit him or suit Rangers' system? Or does Patterson indeed move on from the club? Because, I mean, Patterson is a bright future at that club. But also, I look at it on the other side by saying, if Rangers can go and get a decent value for him, like what they did in the summer when Everton offered $5 million for him, I would bite your hand off and take that right now. Rangers fans are disagreeing with me every step of the way here, and I can acknowledge why they would, but also there will be players that will be unsettled or not getting game time that will have a pretty good value about them. I mean, Rangers winning the league last season will come at a pretty good value, and their value will probably amplify rather than go down the way. So it can only be a positive in terms of moving this predicament around and also balancing the books.
There's something that kind of jumped out to me about this, and it's not necessarily to do with Rangers, but it's to do with the idea of Scottish football in general. Rangers received £12 million for getting to the last 16 of the Europa League last year. Now, if you look at it, roughly about £8 million to £10 million of that comes from actually getting into the group stage. We spoke about this on Wednesday. Think of that being the money that an Aberdeen, a Hibs, a Hearts could get for making the group stages of the Europa League. Now, if Celtic and Rangers make that progression up to being a Champions League team, yes, it's going to increase the gap in Scottish football, but if teams like Hearts and Hibs can get into the Europa League, surely it's only good for the state of Scottish football overall, that you're getting more money being introduced into the game, more money comes in, it attracts bigger and better sponsors, it attracts a bigger and better TV deal, it improves the game overall, surely.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, that's the problem we have with Scottish football right now. We're not exactly doing well in Europe, which means we're losing interest, we're losing any potential bigger TV deals that there is. I mean, there was a massive disappointment last week when there was no games in the telly, and a lot of people were getting frustrated by that, but I could kind of justify why that wasn't done. Is because, one, we're not doing well in terms of European football at this precise moment in time, and two, the clubs, in terms of all the clubs in the Scottish Premiership, agreed to this current TV deal. So, yeah, massively frustrating. But also, on the other side, I'm going to treat this a positive here. If we look at this from a positive angle, if Rangers can get into the Champions League, Celtic can get into the Champions League, and then you've got your Aberdeen, Hibs, Hearts, whatever, going to Europa League, the table turns. I mean, Aberdeen reached the Scottish Cup final and the League Cup final a few years ago, just to give you a prime example here. And they paid £100,000, if I'm not mistaken, for Stevie May. And Stevie May didn't work out at Pittodrie, but you look at that moment in time and went, that's an ambitious investment from Aberdeen Football Club. It didn't work out at the time, but it was a very ambitious investment. And we need more of them moving forward. But ultimately, the clubs need to balance the books. And if you need to balance the books, you need to get it right in the football park.
It will be interesting to see what happens at Ibrox going forward, because there is only so long, I think, that the likes of Park and the other guy can continue to kind of put their own money in. The fans are putting their own money in as well. And it's keeping Rangers afloat. But it doesn't seem to be a growing concern for Rangers fans. If you are watching, let us know what your thoughts are on the results. Glenn coming back and just saying you get straight into the Champions League next season by winning the league this year. That's correct. And that's what I'm saying. This league title, I think, is every bit as important, if not potentially more important than last year for both teams, considering the riches that are at stake. But let's look ahead to their game on Sunday. They're at home at Ibrox, with Ross County being the visitors. Now, if you are putting a bet on this weekend, we always say please gamble responsibly. I'll take you through what the odds are for both teams. Rangers are, as probably predictably expected, 1-9 favourites for this one. The draw is sitting at 8-1, and Ross County, massive price for Ross County this weekend, 25-1 on Ross County. Ross County fresh off that 5-0 victory over Dundee a couple of weeks back, and they've been the ones that's been most affected recently with the Hibs COVID call-off. That game being rescheduled now to 24th of November. Look, Dave, the writing was on the wall for Malky Mackay up until that victory, and sometimes you have a day where everything goes right, and that's exactly what happened for Ross County against Dundee.
Yeah, they were fantastic in the first half, 4-0 up and cruising, and Dundee had their problems, which has very much been externally made public. But then Ross County made the icing on the cake with that fifth goal. But some of the goals scored that night were absolutely tremendous. Excuse me, if I could have a wee constructive dig at Ross County, I thoroughly understand and respect the view in terms of using the red zones, but I don't think they've put the supporters first in terms of allowing a red zone at Ibrox on Sunday, which means no Ross County fans can go in the away end, which means if any Ross County fans want to go, they need to go in the home end, obviously. I don't think it's the right call from Ross County, because if you want to cheer your team on every week, you can't just be putting in red zones as a case of removing the fans, because the fans will just alleviate on other things, and there'll be a lot of Ross County fans that will probably go and just watch high league games instead this weekend. So that's a massive disappointment. But back onto the football park, and I look at Ross County and go, okay, the momentum springer possibly from winning at Dens Park. They'll look at this and go and say it themselves, we can go to Rangers and go and get a result. And if they do that, it's a sign of where they're at. And I think that Dundee victory possibly gave a watershed moment in terms of their season, because they were gone until that night in question. And then to go win comfortably at Dens Park against a Dundee side that have been doing very well and have been getting some good results lately, it can't be in their mind, and hopefully that is the turn of some positive things to come.
Yeah, and the Rangers obviously in Europa League action last night, a 1-1 draw away at Brondby. A Leon Balogun own goal. It was a fantastic header from Balogun. The only problem was it was in the wrong net. And I have to say, a fantastic equaliser from Rangers as well. Some great interplay between the substitutes, Kent and Hadji, before he slots it past the goalkeeper. It does actually leave Rangers in a very good position to get out of that group, David. All they have to do is beat the side from the Czech Republic. I always get which Prague it is. Is it Sparta this time? Couldn't remember which Prague it was. They have to beat them by 2 clear goals, and that sees them through into the... Now, let me get this right. Round of 16 knockout round. This is ridiculous the way UEFA competitions are going. Basically, they'll play a third place team dropping out of the Champions League if they beat Sparta Prague by 2 clear goals. It's a great position to find themselves in, considering they lost their first 2 games and they've only taken 4 out of 6 against Brondby, when a lot of people would have expected them to take 6, Dave.
I think there'll be a disappointment from Rangers not to go pick up all 3 points last night, but it's a good point all the same. And also, this is a potential springboard in terms of going to that Sparta Prague game on the 25th of November, where the incentive's there for Rangers. If they can only go and get all 3 points, it kind of leaves Rangers in a really good position heading into that Lyon game. The Lyon game will be a case of, not the unknown, but it'll be a case of going into the game where Lyon will be favourites, which Rangers haven't had the luxury of before. Rangers have usually came into games as they've had a mixture. They've came into games as favourites and came into games as underdogs. So, but this Sparta Prague game is the potential for Rangers to be very successful, because but then in saying that, Rangers against Czech Republic sides don't exactly come out clean-handed. There's a lot of meat with regards to these games in a very negative manner, and here's hoping we can speak about the football come the 25th of November and ultimately 3 points for Rangers, which would ultimately boost Scotland's coefficient.
Speaking about the Scottish game as a whole, Patrick James Simpson comes in here to say the only serious revenue stream I see for Celtic and Rangers going forward is to take full control of the media rights, i.e. streaming live matches and not Sky. This is where this really bugs me, and it's not Patrick's point, by the way. That point doesn't bug me, but just the whole thing with Sky. You take a look at that round of fixtures that had Aberdeen travelling to Ibrox and Celtic travelling to Easter Road, not a single game was covered by Sky. Last season, I believe they could have covered 47 live games in Scotland. They covered 41. It is pathetic that we're allowing them to get away with something like this, that they just treat Scottish football as something they can come in, pick up and dump again. And I think Patrick's right. I think it's about time that we get people round the table and we start looking at different avenues for a TV deal, whether that be a streaming service online. You take a look at Ligue 1, they're streaming all their games through Amazon Prime this year. BT Sports just about to be taken over by DAZN. There is different avenues out there, and I think about time now, considering the introduction of the likes of IPTV, that makes it so much easier for fans just to kind of go in and steal, theoretically, BT Sport and Sky Sports, that a streaming deal has to be something that when the next TV deal's up, it comes into serious consideration for Scottish football.
I think so, yeah. And on the BT Sport front, excuse me, French football is on BT Sport, right? And there's probably 3 or 4 games a weekend in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why can Scottish football not market itself to go and achieve something as close to that as possible? Because, I mean, there isn't a much of a difference between the Scottish Premiership and the League in France. The only difference possibly being is the money of Paris Saint-Germain. That would be the only real big difference as far as I'm concerned. So we're not pushing ourselves enough as far as I'm concerned. And I think you're right. I think we need to look at streaming rights moving forward, because if we can get streaming rights, I think we're in. I think the gold's there. The treasure hunt will be completed, and the gold will just be there, ready to find, and you'll just get the gold ready to take home.
the gold, the pot of gold that's at the end of the rainbow, as some people may say. Now, see, when you look at it, you're obviously saying French football's on BT Sport. That's in the UK. In France, it's on Amazon Prime. So in their own country, that's where it's on. I mean, it's not impossible to do it. There's a La Liga TV. There's different. I mean, if you go abroad, you'll find an English Premier League television channel that focuses on showing every single game. If we're trying to market ourselves and our game to the world, not having a TV streaming deal is something that's going to let us down. And considering when you look at it, Sky Sports would rather put on a League One or a League Two game in England than show perhaps Celtic going to Easter Road or Rangers hosting Aberdeen. There was 15 goals in the first half of that game. 15 goals and a red card, I believe, and not a single game was covered by Sky Sports. And all they do is they put the highlights out at midnight with no commentary over the top of them. The way they treat Scottish football is pathetic.
I would agree. But also, I'm not a big illegal streaming right fan here. But also, see, whenever I watch a game, Colin, I'll go and he's goal. And I'll go watch games such as maybe if Dundee gets Johnston's on, he's goal. I'll watch it in there, because why? You'll get a better product, and ultimately you'll get a better consistency of games as well. And that's the bottom line here. We don't sell ourselves enough, and also we need to be better consistently, and also not just focus on certain clubs within the Scottish Premiership. Focus on other clubs. And I mean, Scottish Premiership in terms of Sky Sports, and later on in the month do have Motherwell against Dundee Utd. And that's good, because I mean it's not exactly one of the Glasgow 2. It carries a different dimension to it, but also on the other side, we look at this and say we've got a competitive league here. We're showing it this season. I mean, Celtic and Rangers probably will still be in the top 2, but I think we're showing the first half of this season how Hearts can be competitive, Dundee Utd can be competitive. If you haven't forgotten, folks, Johnstone won the double last season. There's plenty of exciting stories within Scottish football, but we don't advertise it enough.
And that's what our job is on a Monday to Friday here on the State of Scottish Football live 6 till 7. Strangelove the Doctor's coming in to say, sorry guys, I'm playing 10-minute chess. Well, that was very quick of you. I've never tried to see someone complete a chess game in 10 minutes, but if you can do that, then that's fair play. Let's get back to the game at hand. Rangers at Ibrox against Ross County. Ryan Kent and Glenn Kamara both came back in yesterday as subs. They're back in the squad for the Sunday 3 o'clock kickoff. Ross County have got that travel down from Dingwall, not having played in a week, a bit rusty. I think for me, the prediction is that the 3 points stay at Ibrox. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Rangers victory. I still think Ross County could be quite dangerous. Rangers have conceded quite a few goals. They've gone behind a number of times in the last few weeks. So Yeah, I think we could see both teams to score a 3-1 Rangers.
I am going to go 2-1 Rangers. I fancy counting, give Rangers a good account of themselves here.
It sounds like a very tight game, that 2-1. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Let us know your predictions in the comments. Jerry H comes in to say a 2-0 home win. Strange Love the Doctor letting us know that it's on a timer, so he has to be quick. And Patrick James Simpson reckons that Rangers will get a penalty. Well, we'll leave it at that. Let's go over to the City of Discovery, and it is the only game to be covered on Sky this weekend. It is Dundee at home to Celtic. Now, again, if you have this one on your coupon, let me go through the odds. Dundee at home are 10-1. A 10-1 at home side. It's crazy. 9-2 for the draw and 2-7 for Celtic. Celtic go into the back of this off a 3-2 victory against Ferencváros last night. Did you catch much of the game, Dave?
No, because I was in Paul John Dixon's HQ, so I was on my way home.
Oh, all right. And you were in the State of Mind studios. Very nice in there. It's been a while since I got through. I have to say, I actually was very surprised at Celtic's performance last night. I thought that Ferencváros would be a team that would come out and have a go at them from the word go, but Celtic managed to control the game very well, and some of the passing and movement was outstanding. I don't know if you've seen the highlights, but that third goal, Declan McConville from a Celtic State of Mind, he's tweeted it out. It's just everything just seems so symmetrical. The passing, the movement, sounding a bit like John Collins here. The passing, the moving, the tempo. But no, it was outstanding. That was a good side of Celtic. You've seen the bad with the defending, a deflected goal, and then the goal late on. But that was the day that Celtic won away in Europe, and that's a great momentum boost going into the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Celtic had to respond from the Livingston draw because, I mean, it wasn't the end of the world and it wasn't the end of the eternity for Celtic, but also on the other side, it was a very disappointing draw. So last night was about responding, and they did it the Celtic way, and the Celtic way is passed with real difficulty. And Celtic did very well being 2-0 up in cruise control, and like I said, Jota in particular was having a really good game for Celtic, but they allowed the Ferencváros door to be open, and obviously Ferencváros came back at the game, but thankfully for Celtic, they did enough to go and win the game, and a very big 3 points in terms of the way they want the Europa League to go. But I think it was yourself that tweeted actually, Colin, that Celtic could still will be guaranteed European football after Christmas, which is a huge positive for Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, they will be. So they're guaranteed the Europa Conference League after Christmas now, due to the head-to-head record against Ferencváros. So that is them qualified, and that's a great situation. I mean, Celtic's still got to go to Germany in the next game. Celtic's never won in Germany, so it would need to be a history-making performance to get something over there. And then they finish at home to Betis in December. I mean, if things go well for Celtic, that could still be a game that determines whether they'll be in the Conference League or the Europa League. So it could all come down to that. But if I'm being brutally honest, I think that Celtic will be in the Conference League after Christmas. But who will be playing for them? Because it seems as though every single time Celtic go and play a game, someone comes off injured. Against Livingston at the weekend, it was Carl Starfelt. Last night, Near Beaton and Stephen Welsh come off the park injured. And Liam Scales made a rare appearance. Could it be that Scales makes his official Celtic debut at the weekend, David?
I think it's the perfect game to put him in, to be honest, because I mean, you're playing a Dundee side that I've picked up a few good results of late, but also it's a Dundee side that there's a lot of frailties involved with that side, and that was perfectly shown last Wednesday when Ross County put 5 past him. And so I think it's the perfect game to put Liam Scales in, get him accustomed to the environment. He's had a few tastes off the bench now, but I think it's the perfect game to start him and get him used to playing against the likes of Jason Cummings and Danny Mullen and Leigh Griffiths and Sean Curran. Just to clarify, Leigh isn't suspended. His suspension tribunal didn't get going, so just to clarify that. And there's also like Charlie Adam and all that as well. So Dundee have a lot of attacking threats, and this is the type of game that Liam Scales would thrive in, and also it's an opportunity for Celtic fans to see the full complexity of Liam Scales.
I was good just on the point that you're making. I would assume that Leigh Griffiths would be ineligible for this game, considering he is on loan from Celtic.
I think he is.
So we'll get to that in a minute because I do want to ask about Dundee's striking options. But in terms of striking options, let's look at Celtic's front three. I mean, all three of them scored last night. As long as UEFA don't take that goal off Jota after the deflection. Kyogo, Jota, Abada, between the three of them, 22 goals and 10 assists already this season. When they are on form, David, they are just the best front three to watch in Scotland so far. And I'm sorry to Glenn and the Rangers fans watching, but I don't think the Rangers front three have clicked as well as that front three have for Celtic this season.
Yeah, and this is an exciting thing for Celtic because, I mean, they haven't had that attacking instinct for a few years. If I'm going to be honest, a lot of the play in the last few years has been Forrester, Christie, and not exactly playing for a front three. They've been playing through the midfield, finding Edward, and Edward's been found the net, or indeed if Edward's not been finding the net, it's been other midfielders. So they're showing a more attacking prowess about their play, which they lacked in the last few years. And the play was that? Oh, sorry, a bloody thing just came up there. So excuse me for that. But yeah, they were full of praise for Celtic last night. Their attacking was really good, but also their system and the way of playing was really good to see as well. That good that the Hungarian sports press was full of praise for them. Their modern football and the way they played last night. Major question marks I'm noticing now over the manager of Ferencváros, Stoker, is it?
Yes.
The fans showed their disapproval last night with boos and chants of "Auf Wiedhiersen." So there you go. It must have been a very disappointing night for Ferencváros last night, but they got the win.
I tell you what, David, that was good, but it's not quite close. It was a Wiedersehen.
Okay.
Right, we'll get to that, but I'll let you get yourself back into some composure whilst we look at Dundee. Dundee go into this game with James McPake back after a red card appeal, which means he'll be on the dugout on Sunday for this 12 o'clock kickoff on Sky. You had the chance to speak to James McPake earlier on today to get his thoughts on how Dundee have played over the last couple of weeks, and let's see what he had to say.
Celtic on Sunday, the victory at St Mirren last week's a huge confidence booster for the game on Sunday.
It is. It was well needed as well. We needed a performance after the Wednesday night, and credit, as I said at the time, all credit to the players. They deserve that, and they deserve all the credit for performing. That's 7, I believe, of the 11 started again on the Sunday. So that alone shows the character that's in that group, and they were good, and deserve 3 points at St Mirren. It's a completely different game. It's a home game. It's one we need to. It's the first time we're back here since the Wednesday night, so we need to put our stamp in the game and go out and excite our fans.
And Celtic's going to be a difficult assignment, as it always is.
Yeah, they're a very good side. I'd say we've faced them once already this season. We've seen lots of them, and they can hurt you at any point or top end of the pitch. I think they're really exciting to watch, and they're very good. And they've shown against even good European teams that they can hurt them with their pace and their strength higher up the pitch. So we need to be wary of that, but also we need to put our stamp in the game.
James McPake just backing up what I was saying there about that Celtic front three. Now, obviously, he's mentioned about the performance earlier on in the season. Dundee did travel to Celtic Park in the opening weeks and were turned over 6-0. They'll be hoping for, well, not a repeat of that, but the kind of polar opposite of that when Celtic go to the City of Discovery on Sunday. One question that does remain, though, Dave, and I'll ask you this one. Who do you think that McPake will play up front, considering the injuries to Killian Sheridan and with Lee Griffiths being ineligible? Do you think it'll be Danny Mullen, or do you think Jason Cummins will be given the opportunity?
It depends on the system. I think the 4-2-3-1's worked to Dundee's benefit very well. And so I think Cummings will start and Mullen will come off the bench.
Now, Mullen obviously came off the bench for Killian Sheridan in that that victory over St Mirren. Nearly got that the wrong way around. Last time out, and unfortunately for Killian Sheridan, it does look as if his season is over with cruciate ligament damage. So, on behalf of everybody here at the State of Scottish Football, and for the sake of his Twitter account, we wish Killian Sheridan all the very best. Look, let's get round to predictions then. So, Celtic looking to continue their impressive away run over the last couple of games. It took them a while to get going, but they've found the way to the back of the net. I always think that they play better away from home just because teams don't sit as far in, and it suits the way that Ange Postecoglou sets Celtic up. And with that in mind, I'm going to throw out here that I think it will be 2-0 Celtic on Sunday.
Well, because I'm covering a game, I want goals, so I'm going to go 3-1 Celtic.
3-1 Celtic. So I will be there as a fan. Dave will be there covering it. Jerry H comes in to say he agrees with me, another 2-0 win with Kyogo and Turnbull. Patrick James Simpson saying 3-1 to Celtic, and Glenn, the Rangers fan, coming in to say 2 each. I'm sure you will be ecstatic if that's the case. So we've covered Glasgow's big 2, but there is 3 other games going on, and they are all the Saturday games, the Saturday 3 o'clock kickoffs, the bread and butter of Scottish football. And let's start up at Pittodrie, where Aberdeen host a Motherwell side who are desperate for a win, not had a win in 5. They've not won, Dave, since September 25th now. It's been a poor run of form for Motherwell and for Graham Alexander. If you are sticking this one on the coupon, Aberdeen almost evens 3-4. The draw is 5-2, and Motherwell are 17-4. I'm going to start with with Aberdeen here, Dave. This partnership with Christian Ramirez and Marley Watkins, it's not 2 players you would ever put together. If I was putting a FIFA Ultimate Team together, they wouldn't even come close to having any sort of chemistry. But for some reason, it just works.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Glass has got his system changed over the last few weeks, and it's worked out right. I mean, against Hearts and against Hibs, 2 fantastic victories, and it was all down to changing the system, and that's the ultimately what helped towards Aberdeen get 6 points out of 6 in those games, and obviously drawing at Ibrox alongside that. And Marley Watkins offers a bit of trickery. He offers a very good finish in terms of he hit a perfectly good strike against Hearts last weekend. Also, he offers that number 9 instinct about him as well, as does Christian Ramirez. And they're both very good strikers, but also they're not exactly 2 number 10s either, which I think is a massive positive for Aberdeen. They're both goal-scoring forwards. I think Ramirez is more of a goal scorer than Watkins, if I'm going to be honest with you. I also look at this at the other side by saying Watkins will do a lot of the hard work. So it's the perfect partnership. And it doesn't have the perfect chemistry, but I mean, if Aberdeen are going to kill teams away, courtesy of the tutelage of Ramirez and Watkins, then fine with me.
Well, the thing is, they were following things by the book and it wasn't working for them. So maybe something which is completely out of the box is what Stephen Glass needed to turn that form around. Patrick James Simpson comes in here to say this is the sort of game Aberdeen go to sleep on and end up drawing. Apologies, Dave. As an Aberdeen fan, you've seen the last 3 games, obviously picking up 7 points out of 9. The kind of turnaround seemed to come out of nowhere, but this is the last game before the international break, and it's probably coming at the worst possible time for Aberdeen. 3 points at home to give you 10 out of 12. If you'd have been offered that after that interview, would you have taken it?
Dave Clark's just came and transformed things at Aberdeen Football Club, isn't he? It's a big game for Aberdeen tomorrow, because, I mean, back in September, Motherwell were comfortable 2-0 winners over Aberdeen, despite what Cormac said to everybody on the radio, but turned the ladder 2 months down the line, and it's a Motherwell side struggling to get a win at this precise moment in time, whilst Aberdeen are finding forms. It's a big win. It's a big game for both clubs this tomorrow. I agree with Straight-Love the Doctor in his comments here by saying Aberdeen are probably hungry after that transition period, because it was a transition period and there was a lot of getting used to, and the system had to be right, and they were doing things by the book, and fair play to them for doing that, but it just didn't work. And I wasn't a big fan in terms of people wanting Stephen Glass out. I felt an ex-contributor of ours was very much proactive in that approach, but he's now getting his bum turned the other way around. So yeah, we'll play to Stephen Glass, because I mean he's turned things around. But also I'm seeing things. Good point here about Scott Brown. I'm seeing a massive difference in Scott Brown this last few weeks.
That was the point I was going to raise, because you look at it when you're going through a run like that, you really do need someone who's going to stand up and offer a bit of leadership. And it had been said that Scott Brown, as the captain of Aberdeen, hadn't been doing that for a number of weeks. Now then you get the victory over Hearts. Now as a high B, he's always going to put that performance in. The draw at Ibrox, as an ex-Celtic man, he's always going to put that performance in. And then the victory last time out, but against I'm trying to remember who the victory was the last time. It was a Hearts again. Who's been the victories over so far? So we've had Hearts, a draw. Hibs as well. Well, as an ex-Hibby, of course, he's going to put that performance in. This game against Motherwell, I do see this kind of the idea of what Patrick was saying, that it can be one of these games that if Aberdeen don't get an early goal, they can get very frustrated. Motherwell, before this run of games, had been one of the more difficult teams to play against. You're looking at guys like Mugabe at the back, who is a rock in the heart of that team. Obviously, Stephen O'Donnell suspended after his red card against Rangers, but you can see how easily Motherwell collapsed as well. One, they went down to 10 men. They conceded another 3 goals. It made it a 6-1 game. It's going to be that kind of key role on Saturday. It's whether the leadership and the experience of Aberdeen, because let's be honest, they're still a team that are in turmoil. And I'm not talking about performances now. I'm talking about injuries. You look at the amount of players that Aberdeen are actually missing from that starting 11. They're kind of playing with a patchwork squad. If Aberdeen don't get going early doors, I generally think Motherwell could get themselves into the game, because Motherwell are going to be desperate for a win before this international break.
And the thing about Motherwell, I don't have stats to back this up, but I know best on seeing them that they're a very good side in the first period. So Aberdeen will have to be proactive and efficient from the word go tomorrow. And if Motherwell can start off very well, and get that first goal, I think it's massive in terms of the possible permutations and outcome of this game. And yeah, Motherwell have been playing very well, but just lacking that result. And last week was a major disappointment for Motherwell. But also, it's important for Graham Alexander's side not to go and sulk after this result. And they didn't. They've been hard at work trying to replicate things around. The panic button won't be pressed at Fir Park. When tomorrow, this is all forgotten about for as far as Motherwell are concerned. But one thing you missed out about Scott Brown, which I felt was very pivotal last week. Very good in terms of he played Hearts. There's always a bit of desire, when you go Ibrox. But one thing that stood for me, and it definitely showed through the red card, was Andy Halliday, because there's no love lost between Scott Brown and Andy Halliday.
It was interesting to see Andy Halliday didn't appear on open goal this week. I wonder if he's perhaps still sulking. Look, let's take a look at the predictions for this one. Jerry H has already came in and gave his. He says, apologies, Dave, but I'm going to go for a shock 2-1 win for Motherwell. I don't actually know how much of a shock that would be, despite the kind of turnaround that Aberdeen's had. I'm going to go the other way, though. I just think Aberdeen might be able to keep this momentum going. If Ramirez and Watkins' partnership works there, and Scott Brown has that leadership role in the middle of the park, he can guide them to a victory here. I'm going for 2-1 Aberdeen.
I'm going to go for 1-0. I don't think it'll be the most exciting of games, but Aberdeen will get a job done.
1-0 Aberdeen. Patrick James Simpson coming in to say, I think a late Aberdeen equaliser is on the cards, 2 each. Do you know what? Sometimes there's nothing better than a last minute goal. And I think that would really be a kind of a boost, even if it was the fact that it was a last minute equaliser for Aberdeen, because it would just get the Red Army going. Considering the performances of late, maybe you've got to take that one into consideration. This is the kind of game that's went under the radar for me this weekend, and it's the game in the capital between Hearts and Dundee United. Third plays fourth, both teams on 21 points. Only a couple of weeks ago, David, we were talking about these teams going top of the league. It's interesting to see how a couple of results here and there and you just start sliding down the table.
Yeah, it's a big game for both clubs this tomorrow. And I mean, for Hearts, it's about trying to get back onto winning ways after that disappointment last week at Pittodrie, because it was an unbeaten run, and they need to make sure that momentum doesn't go the wrong way around and ends up crashing their season, which has started very positively. Also, for Dundee United, they're looking for a response after the Johnstone defeat last week, where they played very well, but through the heroics and the sensationalism, Zander Clark meant that Dundee United walked away with nothing. So hugely frustrated for Cam Coates' side last week. So this is to make it a really good match tomorrow. I think Hearts have improved since the 2-0 win for Hearts at Dundee United. Also, I feel that Dundee United took a step in their stride as well. So it has to make it a really good game, and there's going to be a lot of attacking, entertaining football on the cards tomorrow, especially with probably either side struggling with injuries and suspensions in the defensive midfield area. So it has the possibility to be an exciting game at Tynecastle tomorrow.
We'll touch on the injuries and suspensions and who might be back in a second. If you are sticking this one on the coupon, Hearts are 5-7, the draw is 5-2, and Dundee United 9-2, showing the bookies don't think there's much in this game either. Both teams coming off the back of a defeat the last time out. Aberdeen beating Hearts 2-1 and St Johnstone beating Dundee United 1-0. Part of the kind of dip in form for Hearts, and I say dip in form, it's been 3 draws and a loss in their last 4 after a fantastic start to the season. How much do you think that has been contributed to the fact that Liam Boyce was injured? Obviously coming off against Dundee, it looks as if he may be fit for the weekend. There's talk, Robbie Nielsen saying he's trying to get him back in, he's been in training. But when you lose a talisman like that, it just shows. We were talking about Hearts squad, about how they've got good options left, right and through the middle, but they don't have a lot up front.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Janelle, if Liam Boyce returns for Hearts, it'd be a very exciting proposition indeed for Hearts, because, I mean, they have missed his goals. But Hearts have got a lot of good attacking options. I mean, Barry Mackay is not exactly hitting the ground running, as far as I'm concerned, yet in Hearts, but he's an exciting prospect in terms of what he can offer to this Hearts team. You've also got Josh Donnelly. I'm a big fan of Josh. He's a really tricky player, and he'll score a goal out of nothing for you. And also you've got Armand Ngoe, but the problem with Armand is he didn't replicate the heights of last season. He did very well in the Championship for Hearts last season, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's only scored 1 goal for Hearts this season, so massively frustrated from his part. And Hearts need to add more goals. I honestly feel they are going away from games doing the dirty work and coming away with 3 points, which is fine, all fine and well. It's the way I would want football teams to go and win games. Also, I look at this by saying Hearts need to go and add more goals to the game. If they can go and add that through Liam Boyce or indeed any other attackers, Hearts will be in a far healthier position than they're in just now.
Let's speak about Dundee United, obviously coming off the back of that 1-0 defeat to Callum Davidson, St Johnstone. Big congratulations to Niskanen, who picks up his first Finland call-up. I think it's been very well deserved. I think he's played very well since he's came here. And also a big shout out to the 1,200 travelling Dundee United fans who have been making their way to Tynecastle on Saturday. It'll be the 4th largest away attendance at Tynecastle. Both Glasgow teams and Hibs, I believe, get more when they go there. But 1,200 fans, I mean, it just shows you the impact that Tam Courts is having on these Dundee United fans. They're really buying into everything he's saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Dundee United fans have came out in their droves, and one part of this is obviously they've been missing the football after COVID, and justifiably so, but also they've been absolutely sensational. I mean, even the home crowds have improved big time. Dundee United were a club renowned in recent years for having good crowds, but not exactly anything excellent or out of the ordinary. So Dundee United have improved their attendances big time, which will in turn improve their finances off the park and on the park moving forward, which will in turn, mean that Tam Courts gets a bigger budget to go and spend to hopefully improve his player pool. And that's got to be a positive thing. But also, they took 1,700 fans up to Livingston on a Wednesday night, Colin. That is sensational.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you look at it, Dundee United fans have been without success now for a number of years. They had that spell when they were in the Championship. Now they're back up. Now they're looking. They think they should be a top 6 side, and they've got the fan base to show that. It's about putting that team on the park that can prove it. Now, you've got this sort of partnership at the minute that's ongoing between Charlie Mulgrew and Ryan Edwards, and that's working very well for them at the back. Up front, I still think they're a bit light. Tam Courts is saying Mark McNulty's not too far away from being back in contention. I still think in January they're going to need to go out and try and bring in another striker, because they're going to need someone that gets them 10, 15 goals a season if they want to be a top 6 side. This trip to Hearts will be a massive challenge for them. Hearts will want to try and bounce back. It's been 4 games without a win now. They know how to defend. If Liam Boyce is back, they'll know how to score. It's all about whether Dundee United can match up to that for me. And I don't know if they can. I think this might be just a bridge too far.
In terms of the forward line, if I'm going to be honest with you, I think there's been a bit of a reliance on Paul and Niskanen. I think that was notified last weekend when they put them on at half time, and the majority of United's chances did come through those 2 players mentioned. But also, Nicky Clark's a very intelligent player, but he won't score you 15, 20 goals. So United need to go in the market. They signed Max Piamu from Coventry, who's been about. He went to Romania, and he went to France during a wee stint away from the game during the summer. But he's hardly had game time, which in turn means that he hasn't been able to make an impact in the park for Dundee United. And he's played in a few bounce games for Tam Court's side, but bounce games are nothing. You need to be going scoring goals on a Saturday in the Cinch Premiership, and that's the most important thing. And Biamou deserves a chance, if I'm being honest, but obviously I don't watch training, so there could be a range of things that dictate why Biamou's not getting a game. But in terms of defensively, then I think Dundee United need to do what they did to Martin Boyle when they played Hibs a few weeks back. They need to contain Boyce if he's back in contention tomorrow. I think Ryan Edwards and Charlie Mulgrew did have built up a really good partnership at the back. But also, I noticed Craig Levine speaking in the Courier yesterday about Kerr Smith. Now, Kerr Smith's done very well for Dundee United, but also I felt he could have improved his performance against St Johnstone last week, and I agree with Craig's thoughts. And United need to get the defensive system spot on tomorrow if they are to get anything out of Tynecastle.
Speaking about the defensive system, and I'll get this right because I got it wrong in our group chat earlier and I've not lived it down yet. John Souttar, he has been a rock in the heart of that Hearts defence this season. The question is, with Grant Hanley, not Russell Hanley, as I completely made up in the chat earlier, now out of Scotland's big games coming up in the World Cup qualifiers, could John Souttar potentially be that person that comes in and is his replacement? What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he scores goals. He's a talisman at the back for Hearts. I think he's got all the ingredients to be in that Scotland squad. It's about getting the right opportunities, and with Hanley being out for 2 or 3 weeks, I think now is the perfect opportunity. But also, we need to make sure that we get the system right in order to make sure that he's either ingrained into this team or indeed we fit a system that makes sure we get the job done in Moldova each Friday night.
Strangelove, the doctor, comes in and disagrees. He doesn't think that it should be Souttar. I would say that probably the option that you look at there is someone like Liam Cooper. But in terms of experience and adding kind of strength and depth, depth to the squad, I don't think it would be the worst thing to call up Souttar just in case we pick up a couple of injuries in that squad. Let's get back to the game in question here. Hearts versus Dundee United, Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff at Tynecastle. I'm sure it'll be a massive, massive crowd. I think it's going to be very, very close. If Boyce, my kind of whole thing around this is if Boyce plays or not. I think if Boyce plays, then Hearts get the win. I think if he's only coming off the bench, and that's the way I think it's going to go, then I'm going to go with a 1-each draw.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna stick in defence and agree with yourself. Let's go for a handshake and say 1-1.
1-1. Patrick James Simpson's coming in to say he thinks it could be game of the day, 3-2 to Hearts plus a red card. I mean, it depends who's refereeing it. The refereeing standards over the last few weeks have been absolutely atrocious. Jerry H comes in to say 2-1 with Boyce returning and scoring both. Strangelove the doctor thinks it could be a Dundee United victory and he's going for 2-1. Well, let us know what your thoughts are on that one. Glenn, not seen your thoughts in a couple of minutes. Let's hope you've not left us. We've still got one more game to cover here as we look ahead to the last game on the fixture list. It is the Battle of the Saints in Perth. St Johnstone take on St Mirren. The bookies can't really split this one. 13-10 for St Johnstone, 23-10 for St Mirren. Slightly better value there, and 11-5 for the draw. This one could go either way. Maybe this one will be the game of the day. St Johnstone going into the back of this after a 1-0 victory over Dundee United. St Mirren going in after a 1-0 defeat to Dundee. Speaking of the Scotland squad, Xander Clark finally makes his way back into it. I mean, everyone was kind of calling for it, and it looks as if Stevie Clark's listened to the calls.
Yeah, I mean, Xander Clark was sensational at Tannadice last Saturday. He was just probably one of the finest goalkeeper performances I've ever seen, and a lot of people probably have ever seen. So his call was justified. It was a debate with regards to whether he would get called up, because there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of disappointment and frustration about why he wasn't called up the last time. So there was a lot of debate about whether it was going to be the right call, but well put is Xander Clark because he's earned his call, and here's hoping he can help Scotland get that playoff that we're very much needed. But go back to your previous point regarding referee, it's Mr. John Beaton tomorrow, Colin.
Oh, well, that's going to be a great game of football. It always is when John Beaton is the referee. Patrick James Simpson comes in to say, no Ralston. What I'm saying here is wait till Sunday night. Wait till Sunday night. There'll be players getting dropped left, right and centre with injury. Just wait till Sunday night. The Battle of the Saints in Perth. Speaking about right backs, Sean Rooney could finally make his return from injury for St Johnstone. And someone who has impressed in that period as well is on loan midfielder Ali Crawford, on loan from Bolton until the end of the season. Speaking about Ali's, Ali McCann, the former St Johnstone player, is absolutely running amok down in that English Championship. He is one of the star men for Preston North End at the minute. Ali Crawford's came in to fill in the Ali gap, and talks are ongoing, it seems, by Callum Davidson's last thoughts, that maybe that deal could be permanent in January.
I mean, Ali Crawford's enjoying his football at St Johnstone. I mean, things seem to get a bit turgid at Bolton, but by all accounts, he's enjoying his football at St Johnstone. And if there could be a way forward in terms of getting a deal concluded, and it's a happy and good news for all parties concerned, for indeed St Johnstone Football Club and indeed for Ali Crawford. And looking ahead to this game, I actually found out, courtesy of all things St Johnstone, there's some terrific content, by the way.
Did they pay us for that plug?
No, I'll
okay, so they didn't pay us.
I'll tell them when they can put an investment in. So, Samuel, if you're listening in, Samuel, we want an investment, please.
So they didn't pay us for that plug, but the team that did pay us for the plug is Etiv Watches, and we have them as our sponsor this Friday evening. Just since you're throwing plugs out there, if you are looking for that ideal Christmas present this year, and you're looking for a nice watch, check out etiv.watches/Paul John Dykes, and that will get you 15% off your first order. Some really lovely, classy watches out there. I'm definitely going to be taking up that offer when it comes around to Christmas, so I hope none of my family are watching. Let's go back to St Johnstone.
Yeah, so they did a quiz, and they do a quiz before every game, right? So I did the quiz on my way home from Dundee today, and one stat that you might not know, viewers, is St Johnstone haven't scored at McDermott Park since 2014. 2014. So they haven't scored at St Johnstone, McDermott Park, for 7 years. Could that duck break tomorrow? Here's hoping it does. Obviously, there's serious repercussions with regards to whether Jamie McGrath will play tomorrow or not. I hope he does.
He's out.
So, and I mean, St Mirren have kind of missed his adaptation of late. They picked up a really good draw at Fir Park last midweek, but also I think we'd see at the weekend just how disappointing they were against Dundee and how they weren't able to build on that. And Brophy will score goals, but he's nowhere near the player he was at Kilmarnock. And Curtis May, we all know Curtis May, and the fact that he won't score many goals at St Mirren either. So here's hoping he can break the duck, but it's a case of it's a case of the unknown at this precise moment in time.
Do you know what? I'm going to disagree with you on Eamon Brophy, because I slaughtered him at the start of the season. I didn't think he was anywhere near good enough, but he's already got 5 league goals this season, which in terms of Eamon Brophy is well above standard. If he gets 10 to 15 goals for St Mirren this season, that could be the difference between finishing in the top 6 or the bottom 6. This is the point I was making. There's only 5 points between 5th and 11th at the minute. That's how close the Scottish League is. And see, if you've got a striker who knows where the back of the net is, that's going to be all so important when it comes down to the couple of games before the split.
I'll meet you in the middle, Colin, by saying, you're right. And also, in terms of Brophy, he was disappointed in the last few seasons, so he's kind of rectified his Kilmarnock form. If he continues that, he'll be a massive, massive player this season for the Buddies, especially with the condescending news with regards to Jamie McGrath and whether he'll continue at St Mirren or not, despite the lucrative contract offer that's been put in for his services. Of course, McGrath, if he returns from injury, will be playing Ronaldo next weekend, so that's an incentive within itself for the Irishman. But no, I'm looking forward to this game tomorrow. I mean, I'm going with a few friends. We're having a podcasting day out, so I'm looking forward to this. I mean, St Johnstone were pretty good in the Eye last weekend. They were streetwise in their performance at Tannadice, and that's the thing with St Johnstone. They're not the most exciting of sides in this cinch Premiership this season, but also you'll find that they'll have a dogginess and a streetwise approach to their ways of playing, and that's been the case since Colin Davidson's took over as manager. And That's probably helped in terms of the success they've got. But also, St Mirren, they've got a good chorus in terms of the defensive strategy, but also the score goals. So it is the makers of being a really good game tomorrow at McDermott Park.
You'll have seen, ladies and gentlemen that are watching, that Dave referred to it as a podcasting day out. Yeah, I'm still waiting on that invite to come through. I'd have fancied going through to that one tomorrow, but do you know what? I'll just have to go out with a girlfriend instead. I'll probably get dragged around some shopping centre.
No, sorry, Colin. You'll find here I'm going with John Blaisdell. I know the phone's a bit boring. John Blaisdell, Carl McFadden, and Grant Campbell. So what a lineup that is tomorrow, Colin. We'll include you for next time.
I look forward to the invite coming through. Look, Battle of the Saints in Perth, 3:00 kickoff. This could be either the best game of the day or the worst game of the day. Now, I hope for your sake, since you're going, that it is the best game of the day. But I just feel as if it's two teams that will kind of cancel each other out. I do think there'll be goals, though. I'm going for the game of the day. I'm going to go with a 2-each draw.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I think it's gonna be Desmond 2-2.
Desmond 2-2. Let us know your thoughts on there. Jerry H comes in to say, Takate and no tan time. Is it rain here? Rain in Miami? That is not possible. Do you know what it must have been? I reckon it's President Biden bringing it back from the COP26 conference this weekend. Look, we've covered all the games in the Cinch Premiership. We still have a couple of minutes left. There is no Clyde podcast. If you're tuning in for that this week, the guys are unfortunately unavailable. But there is a show from A Celtic State of Mind on at 8:00, where Paul John Dyke sits down with Celtic coach and part of the famous McStay family, Willie McStay, as they talk about his time in the hoops and also about Willie's charitable cause that he's doing at the minute, where he's doing a sleep out over in Ireland to raise money for some good causes. So if you're not doing anything at 8:00, tune in. I'm sure that'll be a fantastic interview. There's also been some...
Can I give a self-plug in here, Colin?
Go on.
Sunday, 8 p.m. There's a Heart About Moving special, because we were at John Robertson's book signing yesterday, so there's going to be content with John Robertson, Craig Levine. I can assure you that John Robertson is a lot more entertaining than Craig Levine. So there you go. John Robertson, 8 p.m. Sunday night.
Also on the channel, we've had the Oasis Album Club, where Russell, Paul and Kevin listened along to Definitely Maybe, and that's been a great success. We've got the State of Scottish Football on every weekday night from 6 to 7. There's so much great content out there. We've got Amy Canavan, Soccer Supernova. We've got the State of Politics. There's so much. You know what? You don't need a TV subscription. Just tune in, subscribe, leave a like under the video below, and we'll keep putting out some great content here at A State of Mind. Now, I do want to touch on this game, and I'm probably going to lose a couple of people because they're not overly interested in it, but it is a massive game in the SWPL this weekend, the Scottish Women's Premier League, as Celtic take on Rangers for the second time in a week. This time it is in league action. Last week was in the League Cup, where Celtic were victorious at Murray Park, or at Auchenhowie, or whatever it's called nowadays. A 1-0 victory with the goal coming from Charlie Wellens. Rangers are currently top of the league, 2 points clear, and bounce back with a 5-0 victory over Motherwell at the weekend. I was lucky enough to be involved in Fran Alonso's press conference today, and it was some interesting takeaways from that. I'll let you have a listen to what he had to say.
Well, we learned what we knew, that they are a very good team. I think it was a very even game. I think we managed to be a little bit more clinical in both boxes, and that's why we won the game. But they also have a lot of chances. We don't know the game plan they will have. They stay a little bit without pressing us in the first half, and they create a lot of chances in the counter. And then in the second half, they went to press us higher, but then we have the goal and the better chances. So we will have to prepare for both. Another tough game, another game that we will go as underdogs against the top of the league, unbeaten, but with a lot of enthusiasm in front of our fans to try to give them another day of happiness.
Another day of happiness indeed. You mentioned going in there as the underdogs. Now, if you look at the form table, it will say that Celtic have won 7 out of the last 8 games against Rangers in all competitions. Do you generally see yourselves as the underdogs for this game, and is that the kind of mentality you take into it?
Yeah, we are. In my opinion, we are. Obviously, we are talking about the massive investment they've done. Their players, if you think how many caps they got in the team, how many experienced players they got, they're outstanding team. Of course, in a football game, anything can happen, and I think our mentality is outstanding. And that's where we managed to be this a little bit more clinical than they are, and that's why we keep winning. But it's very difficult to keep winning against a team that got so much experience and quality. I know from the 8 games, so the last 8 games, but for me, what matters is the last 4 games, which is when we both became professional. They weren't nowhere near as good before. But now with this team they got, and if you think the signings that they came in straight away into the starting 11, replacing players that didn't have many minutes, so they have improved massively, and they kept their best players who are now more experienced. The links between them are better. So for me, yeah, we are the underdogs, but we are quite good underdogs, and we don't mind being that position, and it brings fight on us. So yeah, I consider ourselves the underdogs, but we will try to get something from the game, and we will try to win.
I'm just going to say, I'm going to put my green tinted glasses on here. Fran Alonso is a fantastic gentleman, and he's a great addition to Scottish football. Honestly, when the time comes that he leaves the women's job, there'll be a job for him somewhere in Scotland. He's just so infectious as a character.
Yeah, I love Fran Alonso. I've interviewed him myself, and he's a football 24/7 guy. I've got a lot of time for Fran Alonso. By the way, if any viewers are wanting to go watch the game on Sunday, it's live in Alba, and also if you're a season ticket holder, Celtic Football Club, you get to watch it on Celtic Pass, is it?
Yeah, the Celtic Pass to Paradise, and also tickets are still available for the game, which is being played at Airdrie's Pennycar Stadium. Yeah, I mean, we speak about the League Cup result, Celtic scoring through Charlie Welling's kind of goal, which had a bit of luck to it as Jenna Fife struggled to get down and sort of parried it into her own net. And when you look at the highlights of that game, David, there wasn't much between the two teams, and that shows in the league table so far. Both teams still unbeaten. Yes, as I said, Celtic have won 7 out of the last 8, but Fran Alonso saying that they're the underdogs. Do you buy into that?
I do, and I think it's mind games for the media, if I'm going to be honest with you, but also I look at this on the other side by saying Rangers have invested far more in the women's game than Celtic have. But what Celtic have is that togetherness. I mean, they go under the radar, as far as I'm concerned. They went under the radar ever since Fran Alonso took that job. The players they've taken has been very good acquisitions. But one player that sticks out for me, and two players they've been doing it over the years, is Chloe Craig and Kelly Clark, 2 mainstays in that Celtic side, and they've probably helped in terms of the success of the Celtic side.
Yeah, Kelly Clark celebrating her 200th appearance for Celtic a couple of weeks ago. Let's speak about one of the Rangers players, though, and someone who is absolutely banging form, and that's Lizzie Arnott. 8 goals in 8 games. It just shows that if you get the players in the right position, she's going to score the goals. And considering that this will be a game with very few chances, you want players that's in form. You've got Charlie Wellings with 12 goals this season. Lizzie Arnott 8 and 8. It's going to be the kind of battle of the front 9.
This is why I think Celtic go under the radar a little bit, Colin, because Rangers probably have more attacking quality than Celtic do. And I'm not being disrespectful to Celtic here. I'm just looking at this by saying Rangers have more individual attacking purposes and quality than Celtic do. Celtic have Wellens, and she's doing very well. And they also have other players as well that can go and contribute. But Rangers have Jane Ross and Lizzie Arnott. And Lizzie Arnott's been doing very well ever since she's arrived at Rangers. 8 and 8 is very good reading, and she want to continue that. And this is probably the pressure is more on Rangers than Celtic on Sunday, which I think is going to be a massive advantage to Fran Alonso's side.
Well, as you said, if you want to check this one out, it's on BBC Alba. It's a 4:10 kickoff, so it will be after the Dundee Celtic game. It will be towards the second half of the game at Ibrox. It's also on the Celtic Pass to Paradise, and tickets are still available if you want to go along to the Pennycar Stadium. Well, let's give our predictions on this one. Celtic third at the minute on 20 points unbeaten. Rangers top on 22. Do you know what? I think it will be a game of very few chances. I think, as you said, Celtic do have some really good attacking options. We've got the Chinese player Shen, who's come in, and
I forgot who it was.
She had a fantastic second half against Glasgow City. We've got Charlie Wellings. We've also got Liv Chance. So there's a lot of attacking options there. But Rangers as Fran says, they've been together for a long time now. They know how each other plays. I'm going to go with a 1 each draw.
Right, Wally, I'm going to be positive towards Celtic here. 1-0 Celtic.
Going for 1-0 Celtic. Well, I mean, form would back you on that one with Celtic having won 7 out the last 8. Jerry H comes in to say it'll be a 1 each draw, and he's not the only one, as Patrick James Simpson comes in to agree with him. Well, as I said, the game is live on Alba and on the Path to Paradise, so if you're looking for something to watch after the Celtic game, then do that. Stranger the Doctor coming in to say, I like the new American-Canadian striker. Yeah, it's the Canadian Liv Chance, and she has been very impressive up front for the girls. Well, a big thank you to everyone. We've had our technical issues this evening, not being live on Twitter, but you have joined us in your numbers on YouTube. When you are leaving, please leave us a thumbs up. It really does help us. Leave us a comment underwards. You don't understand how important that is to us, as it helps us grow this channel. We'll be back on Monday night, where Dave will be joined by Glenn, and who else will be on the Monday? Colin Byers will be there as they look back on our predictions from the weekend to see how we got on, and also the games overall as a whole. To everyone, if you're going out this evening, enjoy and stay safe. Remember the 5th of November, fireworks, bonfires all over. Until then, stay safe, and we will see you next Friday. Take care.